A very, very good morning to the universe. The universe says hello. Or good morning, Starshine. The universe says hello. Let's see if you can guess what that movie. Where's that movie from? Ah, you can get that one. That's pretty good. That was Johnny Depp reprising the role of the great Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the remake with Johnny Depp when he comes out. Like, good morning, hello, sunshine, starshine. The universe says hello. Um, it's interesting how I always start off topic. I don't know why, but I think that's actually good because what it is, it's your brain working. This episode is brought to you by the Organics Tea, the safe Vaughn's. Where I shop is called Pavilions, but it is a Vaughn's subsidiary, and they have this tea, this chai spice tea. It's like $2.99. You get like not for one cup, but you get like 20 packets and stuff. I highly recommend it. It's pretty good. If caffeine is a little too strong for you, which I understand for some people. There's also this other one that they make. It's this ginger. I think it's a ginger spice tea. And what I do is there's these cinnamon graham crackers they have at Trader Joe's, and you dip it in. For some reason, the texture is like it's really good. It's like a good dipping thing, and those grams have enough density in it, so it just gets soft enough, perfect. For for people like me, um, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I like the lighting. Like I kind of keep it like this because it's perfect ambiance. So even though it's the morning here in Los Angeles, if I can make it bright. I go outside, whatever. But I kind of like it to. There's some type of controlled, peaceful tranquility, if that makes any sense, by keeping it this kind of dimness. Um, Bright is like for hospitals and stuff, I guess. But I have no problem with the sun. I have no problem with the moon. Um, both I have lived in both environments for many years. Um, there's something about the evening, though. Something about the night, like the tranquility, like the peace. There's people running around, driving around like mad rats, in a big hurry to go to work to make money. I know it sounds like I'm kind of a curmudgeon when it comes to money. Believe me, I have no problem with money. Um, don't have enough of it, but think about that. Think about that. It's a common answer. I need to make more money. I need to make more money. Hey, well, you know what? Why don't you analyze and I'm talking to myself too, analyze like really what is necessary in your life, and make a goal and a plan to get there. That's the title of this discussion. Well, can goals be analyzed? It's a little. I'm tweaking the discussion post comment. So a lot of people. I don't like vague things. I know I use that word a lot, but when I say vague, people that say, "Oh, I need to make money." Well, what does that mean? That's vague. I need to make money. I need to make how much exactly? And if you don't know exactly how much, then you're basically going like the person that's going somewhere like a ship without a captain. It'll just go wherever it goes. It doesn't have a course. It doesn't have a plan. And that's just there's a big difference between somebody that says, okay, well, I need this much for this, and they write it down. No, I could say, I need 10 million. Look, Jim Carrey did that. He wrote a check out to himself for $10 million before he became famous. That was his goal. And I think when he did make it, he ripped it up or something, or he buried it with his dad or something like that. It was a story. he just felt like, he needed to prove that he could be a successful comedian, and that was the definition of that, being able to get paid $10 million for a movie, which I think he did numerous times. Um, Quite extraordinary. And that's what brings me to the topic. Can goals be analyzed? Now, what I mean by that is, let's stick with the Jim Carrey thing. Um, First off, you don't need, well, he knew. Okay, well then, but how long? How long would it take? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Can goals be analyzed? So he's like working at he's doing like the Comedy Store or whatever, 6 shows a night. How do you know how long it takes till he finally made it to that point? Can it be analyzed? And that's what I find very interesting. What gives you that kind of faith to keep going? How do you know? How do you know? And you don't. You don't. Now it's different, I guess, if you're going to college or something. Okay, well, I take these classes. This class is a semester, and then if I take this many classes, you have a degree plan. To get to. But you know how many students fall off because they have falling outs with professors? Class was too hard. Then they have life. Other things get in the way. I call it like turbulence on the plane flight of life toward goals. It's like it's not clear. It's not a clear thing, or a pothole, like a road bump, whatever, as you're driving. I don't drive, but I thought we've all hit potholes in life, and or a flat tire, maybe even better. That's even more realistic, because flat tire, you have to stop, and then you might think, is it really worth going all the way there? Or then you can't get to where you need to go because of the flat tire. It's like, it's not worth it anyway. So, I look at it, I think to myself, can goals be analyzed? I mean, can you figure out? He says, well, like for me, it, hmm, it, is it worth it? And how do you know if it's worth it? Because we're not clairvoyants, psychics, or mediums. We don't. I'm a very serious, intense person, but part of that, I always say this, like when I'm training in the gym, and I say this, so I hear myself, make it fun, make it fun. When I'm hitting that bag, let's make it fun. And I don't care if people are looking and thinking of something like that. I like them when they have the music kind of loud and stuff. So I don't need the attention. I'm not there for the attention. I'm there to get better. But it's funny when you get better, when as you excel in something, you kind of gain. It's, the people notice. There was a saying, I forgot who said it. It said, "Get so good that they have to notice." I guess a lot of these people on America's Got Talent. They're that good. Somebody has to notice. It's an abundance of talent out there. Um, but I remember shows like The Gong Show. If you're old enough, if you're not, go YouTube it. It's like, I know that was more of a novelty act. Was it Chuck Barris or whatever? The rumor was he was like a CIA operative or something like that. I think it was Chuck Barris. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I remember vividly shows like The Joker's Wild, game shows, Tic Tac Toe, Wink Martindale. I think he's still alive, if I am not mistaken. Uh, Never hear of anything. Bob Barker um, is still alive. Last time I checked. Ironically, he is the same age as if Rod Serling, if he would be alive today. They were born the same year. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, Bob Barker is 95. He could be a little older, closer to 100. He's not 100 yet. I know that for sure. He's in between 95 and closing in on 100. Rod Serling died at 50. He was a heavy smoker, and you know, his daughter is alive, and she wrote like a book, a Twilight Zone companion. You know, and she does remember her dad. I guess she was fairly young when he died, but what a shame, 50 years old. What a Rod Serling. Jesus, what a genius. Twilight Zone. Wow, talk about ahead of its time. There's absolutely nobody, like usually you can find somebody that can go, that wasn't that good or something like that. Maybe you're not a fan of it or something like that. But I don't think you could find one person, unless they're really like a curmudgeon or something, that could say that show wasn't either good or creative. That means you got something. Just like Seinfeld, you couldn't find one person that could say, yeah, it's like a curmudgeon. Somebody would say, shook the world. It shook the world. I didn't even care for Seinfeld show, but even I have to admit, it's like, yeah, that's like when like you really are something, like you really, wow, when you affected that many people, I mean, that's like just an amazing thing. But anyway, yeah, about the Twilight Zone, just a really wow. And then what wound up happening was, you know, times changed, and then he went on to do Night Gallery. And as far as I know, what happened was, CBS wanted more control. They said, no, we don't want you writing, and they let him host it. I remember like the paintings and kind of things, but he kind of, I don't know what to say. He outgrow his time. I think what happens, he just lost control. They wouldn't let him run the show his way, and a lot of the episodes just were not, they were not Twilight Zone esque. He became very agitated with that. I don't know if that contributed to his death, but you know, maybe the stress and everything that he went through and the smoking. 50 though, Jesus, you know, but tremendous visionary nonetheless. I looked up, what's so great? You can Wikipedia, you can find everybody comes from somewhere. He's like a paratrooper or something like that, and he got into radio, and he had his ideas. It's like Gene Roddenberry. He was a cop. But then had his ideas and want to be in the entertainment business, and I forget what it was, but of course it led to the idea for Star Trek. Is this idea wagon train to the stars? And incredible. Just incredible. The TOS, the original series in the late '60s. I mean, even I wasn't even born yet, but they used to replay every episode, like on KCOP Channel 13, back to back. I think it was like 11:30 midnight, and I'd watch it every time, and it was just like, look, this is before my time, but it wasn't about the science fiction as much as it was about the characters and the way they yeah, the missions and stuff like that, but just the way that these people carried themselves, the charisma of William Shatner, like just the way, and then the way he would relate with Spock, and then the Vulcan, the way that Spock was, and it's just an incredible, like, and then of course, see what led into the movies, and that's what I grew up with. I grew up with Star Trek 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Generations. Saw them all in the theater. Don't remember if I saw 2 in the theater. I definitely saw. I saw 3 on 3 and 4. 3 going forward. I saw everything. And after Generations, I don't know what happened. I just kind of like, now I grew up with the Next Generation. Came out, if I'm not mistaken, The Next Generation premiered in '87 or '88, and it was it was well received. Grew on me. It was not bad, but there was something about it that that I didn't like. I didn't like the Picard. He didn't have the charisma, as a captain. And then you got. I think William Riker had more charisma than Picard. But they wouldn't let him. Because he's number one. He's not. He's not supposed to be the lead. And then you got Worf. It's like Warp. What's his name? He's Worf. He's a Klingon, and he's a Klingon on an Enterprise. And if you watch the premiere episode, the first episode, Encounter at Farpoint, he like goes, "I'm a Klingon," and he goes, "You're a Starfleet officer. Act like it." Yes, sir. Like he's. It was just like he had to grow up. Like he made, kind of made himself look out. Like because Klingons are looked at like animal kind of like they're subhuman. They're not. Yeah, and they were never liked. If you really know your Star Trek, if you recollect in Star Trek 3, the Klingons kill Kirk's son, on the Genesis planet. David is dead. Remember, Lieutenant Savick said it, and he was like, he sits almost, he fell off his chair. Just Klingon bastards, you killed my son. You Klingon bastards, you killed my son. It's like emotional. Christopher Lloyd, Cruz was. There are two other prisoners down here. You want them dead too? Wait. It's just, you're seeing the way this guy, I know they make fun of Shatner all the time, but what a fucking great, really, the guy ran the ship. That's a pun, right? Is really, really good. That's why I told you when I met him at that nutrition store one time, I knew who I was talking to. And I'll never forget how nice he was to me. Like, but more than just nice, just like somebody to take that kind of time. Hey, it's like shit, man. It made me feel like I was important. Like I really, wow. You never know whose life you could touch. And you see somebody, an actor, it doesn't matter what role. Like even if they play like a total asshole. I'll give you an example. It was I don't know the actor's name. There's a Kreese from the Karate Kid, the mean sensei. Anyway, everybody hated that guy. He's a fucking, like he's the bully. He's a fucking, sweep the leg, finish him. Like the whole thing. That actor went on to be a role model in a huge anti-bullying campaign. Because he was so famous from that movie. Like he used that in reality to promote anti-bullying, and be a spokesperson for it. He used his star power for good. Jeez. Because stars are like royalty in America. They're treated as such. My friend told me that. He said they're like royalty, and it never hit me until he said it. And I go, you're right, they are. It's like famous athletes, It's, geez, select few, like they get that chance, and I don't want it. There's people that became famous, they didn't even want it. It just happened. You know how many actors there are in SAG-AFTRA? Well, they combined this American Federation of Television and Radio Artists with Screen Actors Guild. It's like 150,000, if I'm not mistaken. That includes everything, all the, not all, of course, not anybody that's in the, Electricians Guild or other thing like that. But of those 150,000 people, your top 1% basically are the ones that everybody knows make the name, of course, and they make all the money. The top 1%. And people down on the bottom tier, it's like lucky to get a little something and be in something, or a special guest, or maybe not even that. Above extra though, it's above an extra. Like you got some lines out and something, you got your card, I just, it's kind of a catch-22 though. It's like you got to get the lines to get in the union, but then to get in the union, you got to get the lines. So it's like, it's got to go to an open casting call. If you make it, that's great. If you're the right person for it, but it's like a dream. It's like a pipe dream, kind of. Those people that make it, it's like hitting the lotto. Not it's what I mean by hitting the lotto. But in a way, like people, like, yeah, they're trained. I mean, stuff like that. But who's to say? Like, I know I talked about that show Friends. Like could have been any. There's the six main people. Like it could have been anybody. Could have got that. It could have been Jennifer Aniston. It could have been another woman that looked like her that was probably really good. In Star Wars, Rey, Daisy Ridley. It could have been. Can you imagine being the chick that was like the runner-up? Like she was close, but I mean, if you look at, I saw they had the audition footage from 1977 for the original Star Wars, A New Hope, and they showed the casting, and they're reading, they're auditioning, and you had like Kurt Russell do Han Solo. How do you say that he couldn't? It wouldn't have been him. Young Cindy Williams, if you remember, to read for Princess Leia. Cindy Williams was Shirley, Laverne and Shirley. She went on, to at least she hit with that. But my point is that, it could have been them, like it could have been. So they were kind of like the runners up. But if you watch in the way that, like, the poise or whatever, the Mark Hamill, you just see it's like, wow, and then the way Harrison Ford read. But Harrison Ford, again, was already connected with Lucas from American Graffiti. So you're working with somebody that's like, they know you, they like you, they see the charisma in you. That's how it works. That's why you see Leonardo DiCaprio always working with Scorsese all the time, and stuff like that. You build that, it's when once you have that recognition, then fame, and you call the shots. Then you're in a position where you decide if you want to do the movie or not. It must be really nice. It must be really, really fucking nice to be in a power position like that where you can decide. I mean, people coming up to you want your autograph. I know but there's only a handful of people on the planet that have that kind of power, okay? A handful. It's not even 1% of everybody in SAG-AFTRA. 1% of 150,000 is what, 1,500? Okay, maybe 1,500 people. 1%. And, that have that, jeez. Oh, they don't get any privacy. They don't get, hey, you know what? Oh, well. Oh, well. And the paparazzi follow you around everywhere. Then they do. It's like an entourage for you then. You know, get used to it. That's it. You know how many people were kind of like they were one hit wonders, and then you wouldn't even know them walking around. They wouldn't even. They used to be in the '70s or something like that, or in the early mid '80s. They didn't make it. So many people they just get forgotten. You know that it's quite incredible. Like MC Hammer or whatever, a guy was like, geez, in 1990, that guy was like, the king of like hip hop or whatever, what it was. It was like mixing. He was like combination rap, hip hop, and his goal was like to be bigger than Michael Jackson. You know, that was the whole thing. He looped that song, Rick James. You can't touch this, my. You know, and it was like just everybody and their mother was dancing to that song. It was incredible, and he thought it was just sold. It was like like Thriller. It sold an incredible amount of albums. Not as many as Thriller, of course, but an incredible like amount. And then he followed up with like Too Legit to Quit, which I thought was kind of cool. But it was just I don't know what happened. I don't know. Like maybe just there was kind of a interchange in a generation. That see what happens is it's hard because like the Beatles, you had those young fans. And what happens is they grow up and music times change. So like the '60s, right? Mid to late '60s. Then I don't know. Let's say the disco era came in. In the mid to late '70s. So it's like different. So I know I'm bouncing around with a lot of different, but it's relating music to change. Um, Elvis died, I think, what in '76, '77, right? And when Elvis died, not shortly after, the Saturday Night Fever, Bee Gees, and stuff like that ushered in a new era. America was coming out of Vietnam. Um, I am a huge fan of the disco. Unfucking believable. That not just a disco, but like disco funk. The locking and the popping and all that. And then I moved into like breakdancing. That came out in the early '80s. Um, just unbelievable. Just. But my point is, everything changes. Yeah, you find some places they might have, get-togethers for disco, and then of course like underground kind of things, breakdance kind of things, where they'll play. Some of the young people. I've been around that. I was around for a long time with all that. And I just couldn't really go anywhere with it. I told you I wrote a script. But and this leads back to the importance of the topic. My writing mentor, John Herman Shaner, who passed away maybe 5, 6 months ago already. He would have a writing workshop in his house. There were a lot of veteran writers in there, um, and noobs like myself that were given the chance to um, attend his workshop in his house. And I would listen as I talk about on this thing. So I'm glad a lot of people don't write comments because it talk to me during this because it throws me off. The reason I don't block it because I try to keep an open mind. But the important thing is if you're talking, you're not learning, you're not listening. Um, I don't want to sound too selfish, but this is my expression. This is my time to try to give back, and it's also my time to kind of help me because, like I said, when you verbally say it, the universe hears it, and that's the most important thing, I believe. And it's archived, so one day I'm not going to be here. but hopefully this will be here. And it's kind of like I'm here for you. Um, in a way, I feel like that's how you give back, even though I don't have much to give back. But sometimes you can learn, you can learn a lot from somebody's life experiences. It's like, wow, really? Because I had a hard time meeting when I had a hard time achieving my goals, and this guy, I really related to him or something. Hey, if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. They criticize, oh well. That's part of taking it. You got to be able to take it to give it. That's how I feel. I mean, I watched on YouTube. This guy had a 2 hour free. He was like a martial artist. I forget what his name is. It's like happy martial artist guy or something, and he had these little lessons. It's like 2 hours free, teaching you basic self defense. And it's not like you see in the movies about this like beautiful kind of moves and everything like that. But it's very interesting. What's so interesting about martial arts? It's not about. I mean, of course, kicking and punching, but it's about you as a person, your character, how you carry yourself, how you allow things and people to affect you. Really interesting. Really interesting. It's about discipline and focus. Now, it's also about not letting people push you around. That's where the art of self defense comes in. I mean, physically, if somebody tries to hurt you, really, because if you're a good hearted person, like I believe I am, that's one of the most difficult things to do is hit somebody. How do you inflict pain on somebody that if you're a good person? It's unfortunately that's what you learn. Not unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, but that's what you learn. It's like I talk about the circular saw. I sharpen the blade all the time. Well, let's say the circular saw is in this machine. And as long as the the button, the switch that turns on the machine, it's off, you're not going to cut yourself to shreds on it, right? But if somebody threatens your life, puts a hand on you, whatever, tries to choke you or whatever, that's when you flip the switch. And when you flip the switch, you don't even think the machine's on, and it does its job. And if somebody's hand is on in that machine, on that blade, when that flip that switch, they are going to really, really suffer for it. And that's the mentality that you have to have. That button stays off unless absolutely necessary. Most times you can run, you can run away from things. But there are times when it's time to stop running. There are times when you need to hold your ground. There are times when you just can't allow people to step on you. And that happened to me a little over a month ago. I didn't know how to flip the switch. I didn't know. That's why I'm constantly learning. Constantly. I want to be the absolute best person I can be. That's it. In every facet possible. I want to be able to have sex with the beautiful women that I've always wanted. See, these pickup artists, maybe that psychopath kind of mentality is mean that they're just obsessed with that one thing. I'm obsessed with everything. Okay? So I don't think I'm on the psychopaths or whatever they call those guys. Using manipulation tactics. Oh, it's so bad with it. Hey, you know what? Maybe those guys, you know, they had it even worse. I talk about the paralyzing fear of the shyness. They went. Maybe they had it so bad. I mean, I told you about Ross Jeffries. The guy was, he couldn't even look at himself in the shower. I mean, some of these people come from really, really fucked up beginnings. Okay, really fucked up beginnings, and they educated themselves, and their ice, the thickness of the ice was like a glacier. They had to fucking crack through. You don't see. I was gonna call this episode. You don't see what people go through in order to get what they want. I mean, it's like that's the real journey. It's unfucking believable. The perseverance of what some of these people have gone through to get what they want. It's a movie in of itself. I mean, it's jeez. We always see the finished product. Of course, failure. People that are failures don't get attention. Okay, nobody wants to see like it's you didn't make it. Who cares? People want to see people that succeeded, and then they want to know how, what they went through to get there. You think you would know who Jeff Bezos was if this company wasn't successful? No. Started in 94, Amazon.com. Who the fuck was using the computer in 94? He was starting online business in 94. I remember people saying that, yeah, you don't buy online. Yeah, no, I got to try on this side. I'm not going to buy on a computer. Now it's the norm. It's predicated on success. It's like success begets success. A list actor, it's making whatever, let's say $15 million a picture. Well, success begets success. They get that again. Next movie, maybe more. I always hold the contention. Don't people get sick of seeing these people after a movie or two? No, I don't understand. I see things a little differently, but unfortunately, I it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what you think. Rock has said it doesn't matter what you think. The way he's right. Think about those wrestlers. Those people in the crowd. They stay behind the barrier. Was it Jim Ross, JR, the announcer, said, I don't care who wins and loses as long as there's an ass every 18 inches. He said, as long as the seats are filled, that's all he cared about. Yep, yep, yep. I never liked sitting in the seats in life. I never liked it. I either wanted to be in the spotlight or behind the scenes. It's very hard to get behind the scenes. Very tough. I tried. I tried. And that's the thing in life. How do you know how hard to try? Like how long? When does it turn into like you're wasting your time? That writer that passed away, John Herman Chainer, he wrote, well, I remember his house, he was well connected with Jack Nicholson. He wrote the movie Going South, never seen it, but he did some movies with Jack Nicholson and lots of others. But I asked him, I said, where did you get started? He said he wrote a script for a show called The Man from Uncle. Never seen that either. They didn't buy it, the first draft. First, number two, didn't buy it. Wrote another episode, third one, didn't buy it. Wrote the fourth episode, another episode, didn't buy it. Fifth episode, fifth script, they bought it. He was a writer, okay? He wasn't trying to become a writer. He was a writer. Eventually he hit, one thing led to another and led to another, and he's getting 100,000 a script or whatever. Wrote something with plays and all these other things. And a nice house. Literally, me, very close. I've always wondered, like, how these people, like, they got these nice houses, how they get? Well, you find out who they are, then you find out how they made it. Now, of course, in, like, let's say he bought his house, the house, his son's, they inherited the house, they sold it very quickly. They didn't need it. They got their own stuff. It's like 2 million or whatever. I don't know how much it was when he bought it. I think he bought it in 1970, 73 for 100, 200,000. Pool in the back and everything. Well, that's an example of how somebody made it. And as you know, writers aren't the most famous people. Aaron Sorkin or something like that. But come on, it's the actors. And there's now recently most directors or producers, but everybody knows the actors. They don't know the writers. But a successful writer can do very, very well if you hit. And if you think you're going to write one script, I have something to tell you. You think you're going to write one script without connections, and don't count on it, and someone's going to buy it for nope. That's how hard it is. That's how tough it is. Took him, like I told you, it took him five episodes, five scripts for a TV show. Finally, they bought one. It opened the door, I guess. It's like, but you can't do everything in life. Your energy, it has to be directed and focused on something, and that takes a lot. And as you get older, you should have figured it out, but things change also. It's hard to have confidence if you've never sold anything, too. And he was relatively young when he sold his first script. Young is different. I hate when people say you're not that old, but they just don't want to hurt your feelings, And come on, look at these people on television. Sure, there's older women that have plenty of roles and stuff, but they're not looked at as sex objects like they are when they're young. When they're young and beautiful and stuff like that, it's a different. They're looked at differently. And when they're older, if they get the role, they're looked at as being like the mother or the something like a grandma or a homely person or something. That's just how it is. People know that too. People in the business, they all know that. And they're just lucky to get a chance, happy just to get a chance at something. Without an agent, though, you're fucked. Without a fucking agent, you're. Then I go online and I try to find, okay, well, get an agent, and Well, these agencies, they won't accept blind submissions. You can't even try. Fuck. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. You can't even get a chance, you know? It's like, fuck, man. You go to central casting, be an extra or something like that. Well, guarantee I knew this guy. I met him through pickup, you know, the pickup thing, and he was an extra in all these things, and he never made nothing. He was in Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. You know, he played an extra in that great movie. If you've never seen it, highly recommend it. True story of Chris Gardner, San Francisco. You know, in the '70s, he was selling these some type of medical device machine, but it was already not past it. Said they didn't need that anymore. Technology advanced past it, so couldn't make it with that. He's got this young kid, failed marriage. He's living in a small, dumpy apartment with his little kid, and they can't make a living doing that. The rent's due, he can't afford that, so they kick him out and they become homeless. It's like you just see the guy struggling, you know, the kid's crying, saying, Dad, how are we going to survive here? And Jaden Smith played, you know, the son, Will Smith's son, actually played with his dad. Will Smith played the Chris Gardner. This is, you know, a real heart wrenching story of kind of the harsh reality of what that guy went through, you know, to get a chance at an internship. And Dean Witter, in the financial, you know, the brokerage business. You know, I remember like that white guy. That make you happy, Chris? You know, like I don't, you know, it just there was like I felt like a lot of truth in that movie, but then you know, I watched it and I said, you know, man, it just seemed like there's something fake about it, you know, like you know when he shows up and he's you know he's trying to make a joke about it, he's covered in dirt and paint and everything like that. In the reality of life, if you walked into an office like that, they wouldn't even let you. So they get the fuck out of here. Who the fuck you wouldn't make it past security? You know, it's like, but you know, it's a movie. You have to understand, even though it's based on the reality of Chris Gardner. But I mean, remember when he asked the guy about the Ferrari? He said, "Man, where'd you get that car, a Ferrari?" And you think somebody's gonna stop and tell you that? Because they get the fuck away from that. You know, you fucking, you know, I'm not gonna fucking tell you anything. That's reality, the real reality. Nobody's gonna fucking help you. That's the real truth. The problem is, you know, but the movies you can't, you know, you can't tell it like that because it's just that's a movie is not reality because a movie has to be condensed for the time allotted. They got 2 hours to tell you a complete story, and it has to hold your attention. It has to flow properly. It's not reality doesn't have time. It doesn't have these things. It doesn't have to hold your attention. You know, it's condensed. Who knows how long it took Chris Gardner in reality how to make it? But to basically try to tell his life in those 2 hours and make it like visually appealing for you to hold your attention with through emotions of what that guy went through. And we all know at the end, you know, he gets the job. And if you watch, it's like a cameo of the real Chris Gardner. Said like he wound up A couple years after, he wound up selling a portion of his business for millions, you know, and doing a lot of speaking stuff. He made a lot of money off of it. So, I mean, of course, it's possible. I told you the Steve Harvey thing. The guy was living in his car for 3 years. 3 years. And after 3 years, he didn't make mega success. He probably made enough to where he could afford his own place just at that point. You know, some of these people went through, I'm telling you, it's beyond, you know, you see the success now, but try living in a car for 3 years. I have a friend, he lived in his car for maybe a couple months. Malibu, you know, he tried until a police officer was taking the flashlight and banging on his window. His drive, you know, his, sir, you can't be parked here. Like, oh, sorry, okay, I'll move. You know, people live in their car for a lot more than 3 years and they never amount to anything. So, who's to say? I guess if there's a secret, the secret is that it doesn't matter if you're living in a car or living in a garage or in a tiny one bedroom, nothing with barely any light. If you're grinding away for something substantial, even if you're moving at nearly microscopic pace, it might take you fucking years. It might even take you decades. More than likely. But that microscopic pace, grind it away hard enough in the right direction, eventually will get you to where you need to go. Hopefully. There's no guarantee. But it's like they say, if you knock on enough doors, one would eventually open if you're the right person for that one door that opens. I told you my Jennifer Lopez story. I was in her office with my resume and everything. I wasn't invited. I basically was able to get in there. It wasn't the right door. Excuse me. But I tried. And the way you keep trying is that you keep knocking on other doors, proverbially. Not office. You don't have to go to an office. Not, you can do things through emails. You can do things through, if you sit quietly and you think, you think of ways, creative ways. You use your creative mind. And you try to figure out where can I go? What can I? Okay, at this point, let's not live in the past. It's important that maybe of the past is the resume to remember, because you're using that to try to figure out where you need to go. And that's kind of like I feel if you have no connections, you have nobody that will help you. You have to be able to figure out a way to do this on your own. whatever it is. Now, you know, you write a script, the one that I did, nobody's looking at it. At least I was around writers. I was around in a writing workshop. Tried. I just don't feel that's really my calling. You know? But I'll tell you something 100% for sure. If you have an idea and you don't write it down, or as in my case, a script, and you don't write it out fully, then that's all you are doing is daydreaming. You are daydreaming, my friend. And daydreaming counts for nothing. That's the reality. Like, you know, you go see a movie in a theater and you're like, oh, you know, how many people stay for the whole credits to watch at the end, you know? Why? I don't care. Who cares about like all the people that went in to make it? But that's the real guts. That's the real work. That's the real movie. The people all the time, you know, it's the shit that you don't see. You don't see. You're looking at the finished product. You're not seeing all the fucking the manpower and women power that goes in to construct everything, the editing and the acting and the locations, everything, the promotion. It's like if you go to Disneyland or something, you know, you see what you see is what's around you, you know, the rides and everything. But everything that you don't see is, I think it's underground as far as I know. The real operation, you know, that runs all the machines and everything, and the people, you know, that go through that keep the magic alive, you know. That's why when you go there, it's like, you know, you're in their world. This one guy, I haven't been there since they have the Star Wars experience or Star Wars Land or whatever they call it. And they got like this one guy. He's like really good. He's like this. He's part of the First Order. This black guy, you know, like I've seen him on YouTube, and like he positions himself like they have the Kylo Ren ship there, and he's like some type of First Order officer or something. But you know the way this guy, it's like he could have been an actor. He's that good. And he does this like live in front of all the people. The way he talks, and he comes off like how he represents the First Order. And I was like, boy, they hired the right. I mean, a guy that was really convincing. He's really good. He tells like, and he makes you feel like, you know, you're in his world. You're in like, you know, the Force Awakens. You know, when you're around him and the ship and everything, and then the Kylo Ren comes in. Man, you know, like you're a kid. It's like you think it's really going on. You know, you really think, oh shit, the Kylo Ren's coming here, and that guy is representing the First Order, and the ship's right there. You're looking at this, a little kid. I mean, you really think you're in the movie or something. That's all part of the Disney magic, you know, and that's all made that how put together but by what you don't see, you know, it's incredible, you know. It's a vision, you know, that they put a lot of money, you know, and they hire people like they really know what they're doing. It's just, you know, that's an amazing thing. Even though, you know, you walk out of the movie, you might not have liked it and stuff, but it's still like, you know, for 2 hours, I told you I saw all those three movies opening night: Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise. Skywalker. And I didn't get up and walk out of any of them. No, they got you. Like for 2 hours, you're there. You're in their world. Because that's how it works. They put together such a fine product, or something that you have to pay attention. Like that's part of that's the narrative. That's what they're in business to do. That's the magic. Anyway. All right. Well, I hope you appreciated this one. I tried to cover the. I mean, it was a very difficult thing because it's a very difficult. I don't really know how to explain the topic. It's. I guess what I should have done is mention some of my own personal experiences in my life that where I went after something, and then how long it took for me to get something or that or anything else. Okay, all right, I'll do one. I'll do one. It's just it's a lot. Okay, here's my example. I got plenty of them, but I'll tell you. Okay, I was a baseball player, correct? And I'll do one episode that told you exactly how I got my professional contract. It's going to take some time, but I will share that story. Um, it would be an example for this one, but it's too lengthy. I don't want to do the whole thing. But what I used to do, all through, I would buy and sell like sports, baseball cards and sports memorabilia. I go to a lot of shows, and I'm quite knowledgeable. I don't know everything of everything, but baseball, I'm quite knowledgeable. Um, but again, it's vast. Again, baseball cards go back to the late 1800s, believe it or not, even pre 1909. Honus Wagner, the T206. They go back to 1880s. Some of these cigarette cards. Um, and I don't know every player, everything like that. But again, just I can. I'm good at research. I'm good at kind of finding out what things are worth and the grading processes and all that, the memorabilia and stuff. Anyway, so what I used to do is I used to go to Dodger Stadium, and I could care less about watching the game. So what I would do is I would get a ticket and I would stand behind the outfield wall. And I was there to try to catch a home run ball. That was my goal. That's what I wanted. And then I waited, and I waited, and I waited. Now, if you're not familiar with Dodger Stadium, and I haven't been there in a couple of years, maybe they changed something, but the pavilions, the wall is high enough where you can't see over unless you're in the seats. So I'm on ground level, standing behind the wall, and there's a space. Basically, there's the wall, there's a space, and then the seats start going up. That space is where you can look to see if a ball is coming toward you. But the problem is, from your vantage point, it literally has to come right to you. Now there's a rail that goes along the entire pavilion, and maybe you would see the ball coming like maybe if it's 15 feet away or 20 feet away, you can make a run for it, but it's very, very difficult. You can only there's too much obstacles in the way. You can only cover so much ground, and a ball of a home run ball is traveling at such a velocity, even though it's in the air. It's not like I mean, it's up and then it's down. That's it. And if it goes in the seats, you're not getting it. It could potentially ricochet off of the seat and then come back and hit the inner part of the wall. If you're right there, you could grab it. The whole idea is you have to be in the absolute perfect place at the right time. Okay. And then there has to be a home run for you to have a chance. And if there's somebody else there, they can beat you to it. People jumping off the staircases, which I remember. I used to test this at batting practice. I would get there early. And, but then I would go up in the seats. I remember catching a fucking ball on a fly. And I remember the speed and trajectory of the ball. Like, I got my mitt there and I caught the ball, just the force of it threw my glove back, but I caught it, I did catch it on the fly, but not during a game, so it doesn't count. It has to be during the game to have significance. That's what I wanted. I wanted an actual home run ball during a game. I could care less who was playing. Now, of course, the significance factor is when I would get excited. At the time, like Barry Bonds was going for the all-time home run record, 73 home runs in that season, whatever, too. So you bet your damn ass I was there, standing behind that fucking wall, and I wasn't the only one. Like get one of those baseballs worth a fortune, along with recognition, and being in the newspaper or something like that. Who knows what it's worth? A lot. So I would do this night after night, game after game, and I would stand there. I'll get nothing. It's year after year. I got nothing. Inning after inning. Hours. Hundreds and hundreds of hours. People walk by, what are you doing? Standing here? What the hell's wrong with you? I think we could be watching like this. I don't want to explain. In San Francisco, they have McCovey's Cove, people in the kayaks and stuff like that, But the Dodger Stadium, it's like, you're not, what are you doing? There's a game to be watched. What are you? And then finally something happened. I'll never forget it. The Dodgers were playing the Mets. I'm standing there. And I think it was Roger Cedeno was up at bat. I forget. I don't know who was up at that at the time. But it wasn't a Dodger. I remember the Met was up. And whoever it was hit a deep fly ball right to me. And I see the ball, like where I told you I'm standing behind the wall, maybe about 8 feet. Underneath, the seats start above me, the concrete, so nobody's really the people are over me, but I can't see them. That's all I could see is a space. I could see once the ball hits a certain area, it's coming right to me. And this one was coming right to me. So I got my mitt on. I'm like, all right. And then, like, the ball didn't make it. Like, it disappeared. Like an outfielder caught it or something. Fuck. And then the ball bounced over the wall and over my head. Ball bounced, the ball apparently bounced on the warning track and bounced over the wall. Now I'm standing there and the ball goes right over my head toward the concession stands. I fucking turned around and I fucking bolted. I bolted. And I saw the ball. And I fucking dove head for the glove. And I landed on the fucking ball. And I got it. Now I'm on the ground. You know, I was a former player. So, you know, I'm in good shape. So, you know, I could take the dive. I was fine. I was fine physically. But I'll never forget, like, you know, the shock. The shock that I felt that moment when I got the ball. After waiting game after game, hour after hour, year after year. And the concession guy goes, "You okay? You okay?" I was speechless. You don't understand. It was like my moment, you know? He goes, "I'm not going to ask you again." And I got up and I said, "I'm fine." And people were kind of around me. He said, "You got it, huh?" I said, "Yeah." And I tried to find, "Oh, who hit that?" You know, I was curious. He said, "I think it was Roger Cedeno, I think." Now, it wasn't a home run. It was a ground rule double because it bounced over the wall in fair territory, so it wasn't a foul. Counts a double, counts as a hit as well. So immediately I started thinking to my mind, okay, what if it's a significant hit? Maybe, you know, his hit number 500 of his career or anything. Was it really important? You'll know if it is because the ushers will approach you. Nobody approached me. So what I did was, when the game was coming to an end, I somehow weaseled my way out of the pavilion into the main part of the stadium, to the field boxes. At the time, there's a way that you could get down through staircase. Dodge Stadium had a dugout level at that time, the dugout boxes, where you're actually on like ground level with the players. There was maybe 100 seats down there, so, you know. And then there's the players' entrances to their clubhouses. So I remember, you know, I went to as far as you can go without like a media pass or something. It says visitors clubhouse, nobody else, you know, allowed. And there was this one dude, this young guy, like this guy was really well put together. And I remember I asked him, I said, "Sir, you know, are you?" And he goes, I, I told him the story. I said, "This ball was hit by Roger Cedeno. Is there any way you could ask him if he wants it back? Or if not, he could sign it for me?" And the guy introduced himself. He says, "Yeah, I'm the strength and conditioning coach for the Mets. I'll see what I can do." So I gave him the ball. And like 5 minutes later, he came back to me with the ball. And he said, "Mr. Cedeno really appreciates that you offered him the ball. He wasn't interested, but he signed it for you." And he gave me back the ball. You know? So my point My point of that is that you don't always get the home run. But if you're willing to wait that long and you believe something, you might just get something. Now it goes a little further. Because if you asked me, was it all worth this? All that time that I spent for this, was it worth it? I would tell you no, it wasn't. But I'm going to show you why it was worth it. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Now, so I just shared the story with you about that. Now, if you remember carefully what I said, why did I go to those games? It was to catch a home run ball, right? But let's go further. I didn't want any home run ball. I wanted a ball of historical significance. Okay? And I told you I was in the collectible business. So I got the opportunity to buy this. Okay? This is Alex Rodriguez's 650th career home run. The actual ball. It's Major League Baseball authenticated with full documentation. To me, I was able to buy my dream. All those hours that I spent waiting, this was why. This was worth it. No matter how you get it, if you have to buy it, if you're lucky enough to get it, I had to, it was just, this is like, when I look at this ball, I think about the hundreds and hundreds of hours, all that time that I stood behind that wall. I was the only person, okay? I was the only person standing there. It makes that ball so interesting. It's that round number. It's not like, 527th home run, or it's not an average home run. It's number 650. He didn't make 700. I think he wanted, like when he tied Willie Mays at 660, 661 or something, he wanted that ball back. This one he didn't really care about. But to me, it was, if you know anything about the values of, let's say, number 500 or 600, if it's not in a player in their house, in their mansion or whatever, in their personal collection, it's in Cooperstown or it's like in a big auction or something. You're not getting. I mean, you have to have a lot of money to get that. And I thought this was going to be very, very expensive. But I got lucky. The seller, he had, lots of different certain hits and stuff like that. But this really lit up to me. And the guy gave me a good deal, and I was able to buy it. So even if you have to buy your dream, like, it's okay. Anyway, it's just, I thought I'd just share that story with you because it meant a lot to me. I think about, in anything in life, like what you have to go through. It's unbelievable. In the end, you know, it's like I got the last laugh, sort of. But, it took that long. Unbelievable. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll keep the stories coming, informative stuff. I know the question is, before I sign off, how much did you pay for the ball? I know it's a curiosity. It's not that big of a deal, right? It's in excess of $2,000. About there, just so you know. Which is a considerable amount to me. I'm not rich, okay? I'm trying to work my way out of, low income housing. I'm trying. Buying and selling collectibles and stuff. I don't have really intention of selling that ball. Maybe I will in the future if it gives me enough money to maybe buy my condo that I'm interested in. But I just like it. I like having something to show for what I call time served. What I call it anyway. It's like I just love having a story to tell. Hope you appreciate that one. Till next time, the fight continues, my friends. Warrior Jr. will keep fighting for me. Hopefully, that might help you too. Have a good day. Hang tough.